What's up, everybody? Welcome to Free Ladies channel. I'm your host, Brittany. I have my amazing guests. I said that kind of weird, didn't I? As you guys have known in the previous episode, I've had Keith Yackey coming on talking about brotherhood, and this is his amazing, beautiful wife, Jessie. So say hello, Jessie. Again, you guys, if you have this is the first time watching, my channel is about opening your mind to free your mind about anything that you want to hear. If you ever have topics that you guys want us to talk about, we will talk about, but we're just sharing stories about our lives and how we continue to set ourselves apart and loving ourselves and having the life that we want of ultimate freedom. So of course, we're going to start off with 3 things that I am grateful for. As much as people are complaining about the snow right now, I'm very grateful for it because we need it. Everything is like dehydrated and getting wrinkly, and we just need that moisture. I actually got in an accident 2 nights ago, and I am fine. The 2 people that were involved in the accident while I was sitting at a red light are fine. So God bless. And I was able to, walk away with a drivable car. And I'm also just grateful for my family of, being supportive. My uncle came on scene of the accident just to help me think clearly and everything like that. So I'm just grateful God protected me. Really, really, he really did. And everybody else involved. So, Jessie, what are you thankful for today?
Can I say 3 things then?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm thankful. This is actually my first podcast with somebody, so I'm really excited and thankful to do this. I know.
That's so cool.
It is. I know I've done some with Keith and stuff here and there, but it's like my first one-on-one, and I love it. I'm so excited.
Yes. Yes. I love that.
I'm very thankful for my family. My brother passed 10 months ago, and I did a reading, and I think I connected with him. So my mind and perspective is shifting into more spirituality, which I never really had before. So I'm really excited to dive into that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm excited just to be here today and alive and thriving.
Yeah.
So.
Right. That's really interesting. I'm just going to tap in on that real quickly because when you talk about connecting it spiritually to a loved one, literally this was asked upon me today. Someone reached out to me and she said, well, what if you witnessed a fatality? Would God be so great? And, my response to her, obviously she's struggling with this question. And I'm still actually having a conversation with her. And I just said, that didn't happen. So of course, God is great. I live in the present moment. I don't think about the what ifs. And I continue to have these other questions, this conversation with other people because I posted this in my story. And I literally was talking about one of my friends, Justin, about how you can spiritually connect to other people who have passed. That is one of the beautiful things about, putting your knee down to God, if you believe in God or whatever, or if you just believe in the spiritual world and you are open, if you have your mind and your heart open, you can hear what they have to say to you. And I think that is so beautiful.
I love this subject right now. Obviously, I'm diving real deep into it.
Yeah.
My brother and I were really, really close. So it's been a difficult process.
Mm-hmm.
So I love to talk about it with people just to get their feedback. I never growing up had church or God or spiritual or death or anything put into my head.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually feel completely open, and anything that I can receive, or all my doors are all open in my brain. So this is my first step and launch into that world. I have no idea what it's like. So
yeah,
I'm real excited to learn.
It's super cool. I've always been like that personally. I've always had this weird, connection or, a sixth sense. And my dad passed away 15 years ago when I was 23. He was 43 years old, and it was really tragic. I'm the oldest of 5. And he immediately came into my dreams. And that's when I knew the spiritual world was you're so connected. If you ever watch the documentary about even fungus on Netflix and how all these fungus, microorganisms are so connected, they sing to each other, they're everything. And, things die, these things come over them and they put them back into the earth. And I feel like, you know, our souls can be like that too. And when that started happening with my dad, I was like, oh my gosh, you know, like I am so lucky that I have this connection, because people, when people die, it is horrible. You know, it's always going to be horrible. Like, I wish that my dad was here to help my brothers become men because they struggle still, you know, and, you know, I'm so thankful I have this connection. I even have my siblings like, I don't have those dreams, Brittany. Like, I don't have that. Or I have clients, I don't have that connection, Brittany. And I'm like, all you got to do is ask.
That specific thing the psychic said to me, because I thought I was going crazy. Like, I'm the only one having like lots of dreams about him, or a random song will pop on and I'm like, I get stopped in my tracks because I'm like, I think of him and I kind of like feel like him around.
Yeah.
Not that I don't even know what that looks like. It's so weird to say because I'm just experiencing all this, but
Yeah.
I love that you say that, is because that's how I feel. Like I've had these like vivid dreams, and everyone's like, that's him visiting you, and I'm like, I hope it is, and so diving into it, I'm gonna learn that it is and trust that it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And you should trust. I mean, those things are super real. And, you know, when you accept that it's real and you accept these conversations, like the more, you know, they will come to you, and anything is always talking to you. Like the spiritual realm's always talking to you
Yeah.
through things, through music, through things that you see.
Yeah.
It's really, really cool. I feel like we're really lucky to
Yeah.
have experience in our
Yeah.
lives. I want everybody to know that like you can do this. Like you can connect. You know, you can connect through meditation, you connect through like, you know, talking to a psychic or, you know, a hypnotherapist. Ketamine treatments work great for these kinds of things too. There's all kinds of possibilities. You just have to be open and willing that these things are going to be accepted into your heart.
Exactly.
You know? So, so you've been married to Keith for 10
We've been
years?
together 11 years.
11.
Yes.
That's a
I
great-
was 25 when I met him, and he had been divorced and separated for 3 years, and he had 3 children. They are not much older than me.
Okay.
I think Minnie and his oldest are what, like 12 years apart. So
That's kind of nice.
that was pretty interesting being a 25-year-old, you know, help raising some teenagers.
Yeah,
Put a strain in our relationship.
I bet.
Yeah.
I bet. And were you married but before that too, or this is your first marriage?
Yeah.
And who do you feel like, because I feel like you guys have a really beautiful connection. I love when you guys talk about, you know, to each other on your podcast. If you guys have not listened to them, it's Married Game Podcast. And they just talk about what life is like being married to each other, and they give tips and
So raw and honest. We just filmed one right now, and I feel like it was like very detailed about our weekend. And I got a little embarrassed, but I'm like, fuck it, just say it all. Who cares?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You know, we should never be ashamed of anything that we do, you know, and that just comes from being comfortable speaking on here, being comfortable telling our stories and being vulnerable. Right. I think, you know, being vulnerable is such a gift. And, you know, you guys are so vulnerable together. So do you feel like when you first, you know, got together with him, were you like, whoa, you know, like, this is it, you know, and who did you have to become to be the person for him and vice versa?
So those questions are all intertwined, because the person I was and naturally am is pretty honest and raw and out there.
Yeah.
I get it from a long line of people who are pretty raw, honest, kind of critical, and we like to make jokes about things and call people out. So that's my whole history of people. Like, I still talk to my mom every day, and she says the craziest shit all the time. So that's who I was, and I think, and the fun person I naturally am. And on my dad's side, he plays guitar for a living and was in a 80s hair metal band.
Yes.
My history of growing up of just like wild and crazy. So I'm pretty raw, honest, pretty free person. At the time when I met him, being 25 and fun and just, you know, go with the flow, then I think he was looking for something like that, because he had been married and with kids, that I was just like fun and down to do whatever and travel. And that's how our relationship started. So naturally, I think that we just gravitated to each other that way. But who I've had to become like since, and through our relationship and through our breakups, is like, I still learn every single day.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys have split apart before, right?
Yeah, twice actually. But the first one was just like, he broke up with me all on his own doing. He said that it was a mistake because he was just learning and growing. The second time I left him, which was about 6 years ago, and this is how our whole thing got started, a whole marriage. He was a shit husband. He was so awful. We had Jovi. He probably changed like 2 diapers. I didn't trust to leave him alone with her because he just wasn't there.
Yeah.
He talked about himself, so selfish, self-centered. And he even says like he didn't even remember me like saying like things have to change, or like I can't live like this. He doesn't even remember. He thought I would never leave him, like he's the shit.
Wow.
Yeah. And the second I left him, he said the light switch went on for him, where he's like, oh my God, how can, and so even when we talk about it now, I'm like, how did I even stay in that relationship? The turning point for me is like, I was a mom, and a mom to his kids, and a mom to Jovi, and literally he forgot Mother's Day. Completely forgot it. And in my mind, I was like, that's it. That's the last straw, and left like a week later, I think.
Right. And I feel like, when you look back on that, don't you think that like was a gift that you gave him, and you held on to your power of what was true for you and your worthiness? And even though it was so hard, it made him have a complete change for himself because he wanted that.
100%. And who we are today now because of that, like, we don't let us get too far. And sometimes I'm like, I'm triggered. That's our old relationship. Then he's like, oh, okay, we'll bring it back in. We don't let it get that far anymore. And we're so raw and open and honest with each other because we don't want that to happen again.
Yeah. And what do your kids see? Like, I mean, I know it's like kind of a mixed, children involved, but like when they see this, relationship flourish like that, they're learning too, because they see you, being vulnerable. And are you vulnerable? Are you both vulnerable with your children? And what is that like?
So the older ones, and they're a lot older now and live on their own. We don't communicate as much with them because they're just living their own life and doing their own thing. Sometimes when we do talk to them, we tell them, actually, recently, Caleb, the middle one, was like, this is hard. Relationships are hard. And like living with someone and being with someone. So the more and more they are understanding how hard it really is. And so they used to hold a lot of weight in Keith leaving their mom. And it affected their relationship, and probably still does. And I think over time they'll get over it.
Yeah.
And then they hated on me like it was my fault, but it just was the scenario. And so more and more they come around, are like, damn, life's hard. So they're getting it more. Jovi is 8. My niece also lives with us, who's 16. So now we're like just raising a bunch of kids all the time.
Love it.
But Jovi she goes, we even like try to explain to her, we help marriages. She goes, so you two will never get divorced because you're literally helping people. Sassy the way she talks. So she just is really, I think, secure in knowing that we are working on it, and we continue to work on it, and we're like good friends together, and we're not going to break up. So,
and to like our audience, and including myself, so my partner, he has 3 girls, it's 13, 11, and 7. I don't have kids. I'm just the oldest of 5. Did I want kids? Yes. But now, like, girl, that ship has sailed, so, which is fine. So for me, and for, to be educated on this, or any tips, and for any viewers out there who are getting together with someone who has kids, especially, you went into the relationship not having kids. Some people, their kids intertwine magically and all these things. And, girl, I am very nervous. I haven't met his kids yet. There was a time when, because we've been together. We started as friends. We met on this YouTube channel / podcast. He has an amazing story about PTSD, and who the man he is today is like, I mean, he's just such a beautiful person, and he's so dedicated to showing his kids vulnerability and, helping others with PTSD. And I was going to meet them last time I was there, but they got a little nervous, and you know what? That's okay. I want us to be, have a good relationship. But I'm at the same time, like, I'm super nervous because I'm going to be coming into this role once we live together
Yeah.
as a person in their life. So talk about like how that was for you when you first, really were living and married to Keith, and how you adapted into that role of being, I wouldn't want to say like a stepmom, because sometimes that triggers kids, but just
Yeah.
a member of the family. How was that for you?
If I could offer any advice, I was 25, like I said, so I felt
Right.
like I had to prove myself and stand up in the relationship and in the whole family.
Yeah.
Uh, and at that time, and I feel drastically different since my brother's passed, like I don't care about the little stuff. We only live once. So like I feel like I'm learning so much in just a short amount of time right now.
Yeah.
If I could say one thing is that I tried to be a mom and felt like I needed to help and be there. I would have backed off more.
Yeah.
Just let it be. But I mean, there was 3 of them. They live a certain way. They were like
Right.
cleaning my house, all the crazy things
Right.
that how I don't live.
Yeah.
I wish I would have just not made a fuss about the little things and just would just show up and be there and be a good person and myself. And
Absolutely. And that can be with like all relationships, right? I mean, to not like take all the little things so personally and all these things. And, I feel like we have a good relationship. We talk on FaceTime and they're all super, super wonderful. And, I can't wait to be in their life and just be a positive influence. That's all I want to do, and I love that advice. I take that to heart, and I hope everyone else out there who's in new relationships with kids takes that to heart too. Is just not sweating the little things. Don't overthink anything because like it's so new and different and everything like that. And I hope at least in the future that we're all friends. Like even his ex,
right.
I really, really want that in the future because like, she is their mom and I respect her for that. I haven't met her yet either, but that's okay. Like that's my joy and passion and love for like just having a good connection with family. And I don't know if you guys are friends with, the ex and, the mom and
Yeah,
stuff
we
like
used to
that.
hang out, her and I more. We
Yeah.
don't live in Las Vegas anymore, but her and
Yeah.
I used to hang out, and it made the relationship and life easier when that happened.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I definitely am open to all those things because we don't need to hate each other. No one needs to hate each other. We all need to come from a place of love, for each other, for the kids. And, I think it also shows, the children that they're like, this family is okay. We all get along and we love each other. And that's what it's all about. So
Exactly. 100%.
that's super cool. And so, you guys have a kid together. And what was that like with the kid becoming into Keith's kids and their lives?
Their mom had a baby at exactly the same time.
Really?
Yeah, like way later. Because I think Julie was like 11. Julie is their youngest together. And then like 11 years later, we both had girls at the same time.
Oh,
So, and we don't live in Las Vegas anymore. So they're not that close to Jovi, which
okay.
makes me sad because Jovi doesn't have siblings besides them.
Yeah.
So they don't really have like a great relationship. Now that my niece has actually been living with us, they have more of that sisterly bond. And Jovi she's mature for her age, so she likes the older girls.
Yeah.
So lately it's been working out and kind of giving her that feel. But I mean, they're nice, kids are nice to Jovi and they like her, but they just don't have a relationship.
Yeah. And that makes sense. I mean, they're so much older and,
Yeah.
years apart and
Yeah.
that's natural, as long as there's love there and respect. I mean, that's all you can do, right?
Mhm.
So let's go back to when you left Keith and you were in this place and space of, growing, listening and, and then he was in his space. Like, what did it take for you to get back with him? What did you need to see?
Oh, so basically the whole time I was like, am I making the right decision? And having Jovi, and some nights she goes, I want mama and dada. She was
Yeah.
2.
Okay. Okay.
So she doesn't remember at all, but she
Right.
just knows that we did break up. So that was so difficult. We were so far removed that I was dating somebody else. and he was, you know, having parties and going out and all the guy things that he does.
Right.
What I had to have seen is him live for him and
Mhm.
be the guy that I met, plus
Right.
the potential that I saw in him. Like, obviously he's an amazing character, right? He's
Yeah.
so vivid and motivated and funny. He didn't have any of that when I left him. So I had to see him become his old self, but and thriving.
Yeah.
Then I was so far removed, I was with somebody else. I started seeing him be the best him he could be. And you know, the new relationship is new, and I was carrying all that old baggage, like it wasn't
Right.
gonna work out, even though I was having fun.
Sure.
I had to have left, I had to see the change, had my own fun, and and then the flip happened, and I'm like, can I even get him back? He's so amazing. You know, that's the guy I always wanted him to be. Can I even get him back? That's how great he was being.
Yeah.
We started just chatting it up like as friends, because we had Jovi, and just, you know, and that happened quickly. We got right back together. I think we were separated like 6 months or something like that.
Okay.
So in that
Okay.
whole time, he really, and he, you know, lost 30 pounds, like all the fun things. And so he invited me out on a date, and I was like, okay. And that was basically, that was the end of that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of people, are like, oh, how can you change, that fast in 6 months? But sometimes it's just in us. It's just waiting for that spark to be like, oh shit, that oh shit moment. And those
Yeah.
oh shit moments are so important into our lives, because that's where we grow the most to be
100%.
really want to become. And so that's
Actually, getting back together was like, that's when the real work started, because I had to get rid of all the resentment, all
right.
the like putting all the new stuff aside that I had been doing, you know, all focus just right here in on us. And will that change really stick? And all the like stress and heartache that I felt from before, like literally I had to give him a new name. Trevor, I just made up that name, Trevor. And say, okay, now you're Keith now, and we're gonna have a new relationship. And we, you know, sometimes he'll go back to it, and there's things that trigger me, but he has never been that guy ever. And if I remind him, and hopefully it doesn't end up in a fight or not now, I used to. I'm like, I don't want that old relationship. He's like, oh, okay. And we'll come right back to our new one.
Yeah. And what do you guys do to, like, when you're in that situation of like being triggered by the old relationship? How have you grown to like just be a witness to it and realize, okay, we're here, we got to get out of there that really fast.
Yeah, it's
How
not
do
not
how do
that
you
nice
guys-
usually. Sometimes it ends up in a fight. I'm like, you're literally being Trevor right now. I can't even. When we fight and I get so worked up, I'm like, I need to go to bed. That's actually one of the things that we teach for us. Before I say some really rude things, I'm gonna sleep on this,
Yeah.
regroup, and we'll come back tomorrow and talk about it nicely. And
Yeah.
then I try to think about it, and then be like, okay, this is where we went wrong, or I feel like you haven't paid enough attention to me, all the little things, and we'll just communicate about what's happening. And he's like, oh shit, all right. And then he actually ends up saying sorry most of the time. Elsewhere, he's like doing something else, or he's like focused on work, and I'm like, hello, I'm over here, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I
Over
mean,
here,
you guys
yeah.
are super busy with everything that you do. And,
Yeah.
like I am so conflicted about like going to bed mad, and like, cause I know like the next morning I am so focused on like, okay, what was that lesson and why did I react that way? And last night Daniel and I had a little bit of conflict, and I was just like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I just need to talk about it. I can't go to bed like this.
Yeah.
But it was just like this, and we were tired. And
Yep.
we did get to a place where like, are you good? Are you good? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. But still, there was still kind of like this tension. And we both realized like where that tension came from and what he, needed to work on or, realize, because we're long distance, right? And so we use FaceTime, and we still have a date night, even though it's still on FaceTime. We basically have date night where we just don't talk about kids. We don't talk about work. We don't talk about anything about like fun things or, what the future is going to hold for us, because we have no idea where that's going to be, and so, those are super important. And when they get totally turned around and not important, I feel completely like, well, like disrespected and unloved. And like, how do you not think of these
Yeah.
things? But it's also like, even this morning, I was like, I realized that like I always have felt very unloved by my immediate family. Always, always, always. And even though it doesn't affect me as much anymore, like it still does. It still
Or
does,
yeah.
And it's just really learning how to focus on those good things and being calm, because everybody says that, when you're in a relationship, make sure you talk to your partner calmly, when you're clear-minded, when you're
Hard too.
like
That's a level of maturity right there.
it really is. And it's
Yeah,
so hard.
it's so hard.
It's so hard because our egos want to get involved, and our egos
Yeah,
want to be like, well, this is how I'm feeling. Like I can't, but where is that feeling coming from?
I
You know?
think being together for so long too, I know that he's not coming out to get me.
Yeah.
So the reason behind why we're fighting or something, his intentions are good.
Right.
So, he doesn't want to blow up our relationship. He doesn't mean to neglect me, whatever the
Right.
thing I'm frustrated about. So I have to always keep reminding myself that,
Yeah.
but I do get like snippy or bitchy, in those times. And I'm like, why am I upset? And what's really going on here? And at that time in the night,
Mhm.
when I'm not just mad and start and making the situation worse, that time for me is really necessary. Because then
Yes.
I'll be nicer in the morning and be like, you know what, I'm
Yes.
missing you or blah, blah, blah. The
Yeah.
thing.
I completely agree. I mean, I am the same way. I can get like super snippy, and I get to a place where I'm not really listening, even though I'm listening.
Can't
Because
hear what he's saying. It's
yeah,
so
you
mad.
can't hear when you feel
Yeah.
so hurt. You know what
Mhm.
I mean? And then the maturity level is like knowing I need space, I need this
Yeah.
time, I need to understand why I'm also feeling this way, so I can understand next time to not pull that into our relationship. So I think that's a really beautiful thing of having a mature conscious mind when you're in a relationship, because it plays a huge role. Because when you it's possible to get in these fights and it's just like going because both people need to feel like they're right.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all.
Yep.
It's totally natural when you're like, okay, like let's just forget about all that and remember that we love each other so much.
Right.
Mhm.
Hard to remember in the moment
It
too. You're like,
is.
I
It is.
hate you right now. I hate you so much.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. It is okay, because those are the times where we learn the most about each other. They're the hardest times. And, but still to that point, we're so vulnerable with each other. That's why our relationship has grown from day one. We've always been like that. And I feel like you and Keith are really like that now too, with how vulnerable you are on the podcast, and really sharing these deep thoughts, connections, different things going on in your relationship. I really feel like, I mean, I've listened to most of them when you guys are on there. I'm like,
Oh,
yes.
you have? Yay.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But
Because I am fascinated. I'm fascinated by love. I love love. I love super big. And because that's what the world needs, more love. And that's why I brought Keith on in the first place, is to talk about like brotherhood and loving each other, and him having his brotherhood and like getting men together, like amazing, right?
yeah. Mhm.
But that serves a purpose for him too, being married to you. It makes your marriage better because you
Exactly.
get to be a man,
Exactly.
right?
Yes.
Because like in our society today, men are so shamed for being masculine, and it's so sad. But
Sad.
as women, we're shamed too, right? Because like this feminist movement, y'all, it drives me insane. Now, there's nothing
Yeah.
wrong. Like if you're a feminist out there, if that's what you believe in, I respect you so much, but don't come at me like I'm in the wrong, right? So I believe in divine feminine energy, just as I believe in divine masculine energy. And I feel like it's completely different from being feminist. I feel like in the feminist world, my opinion only, that's where men are shamed.
Yep.
Completely.
Why should they be shamed? That's crazy. I think men and women, there's created for a reason that we work together.
Absolutely.
Men and women, masculine, feminine, together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The power of that and those energies combined is so important. And just as like sisterhood is so important. Do you feel as a woman, like there are some things that you can't talk to your husband about? Like you need, your girlfriend, not a ton of girlfriends, like, the one person, maybe it's your mom
My
that
mom, yeah.
you can just release to, these things about what's going on. Because honestly, I think this is where women have a problem. And I used to be like this too. We get together with our group of girlfriends and it just goes down the rabbit hole of blah, 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 blah. Like we're totally dissing our men. And, of course it always ends up talking about sex too. I mean, that happens in like 5 minutes.
Right?
That's
like
the fun
everywhere I
part.
go to, that usually happens.
Yeah, that's the fun part. That's
Yeah.
the fun part. But when you start, diarrhea of the mouth of what's going on with you and your partner to all these women, it doesn't become sacred anymore. Like if you have that one person that you connect with, that you share these vulnerable moments with your sisterhood, and it's sacred in that moment, just so you have someone to have a sounding board is so important.
Yeah.
And like I was saying, women and men too, we can get completely in trouble when we start dumping all of our things onto so many people. And then there's judgment. And then there's like, well, you should do this and you should do this. Well, I need to do this. I need to focus on me. So therefore I don't need to spill all this stuff onto all these women.
Mm-hmm.
It just needs to be focused on who we trust the most. And that circle needs to be real small.
Yeah. I think with that said too, like if you need to have your girlfriend or someone to talk to is because they can sympathize with you as a woman. But I think saying all the other things that you need, I don't think enough conversations are between the man and husband and wife. I don't think enough conversations are said between them. And I think that's where people go wrong. They hold things in, they start fighting, start resenting someone. Man and women both do that because they don't want to stir the pot.
Right. But that's where you need to stir the pot to meet, everything.
How else are you going to get better?
Right.
Resolve all that.
And everything that happens in my life, I'm like, Daniel, this is my thought. Daniel, like, this is my thought. Like every day I have like some kind of new thought.
So cute,
and he loves it. Sometimes I drive him crazy, but like at the same time, I'm like, dude, I tell you everything. Like you are my partner, like I want to do this life with you. So I'm going to go to you first. And and that's where people get, it wrong. They go to somebody else first, and then it becomes a different story, right? You get these new thoughts in your mind instead of talking to your partner first.
Well, I think some people, if they've been married and the reason they don't talk to their partner is over time, they're like, I don't want to hear, or I'm too tired, or that, they start building this. So they, they go somewhere else to talk to someone who wants to listen to them. And I don't think that's very good.
Yeah. Well, and then then it also kind of, can turn into like attention, and some, people in relationships, they don't even understand that they're just not getting the right attention or the right love language from their partner because they're not being vulnerable about what they need. They don't know how to say, I need this from you. Daniel and I talk about this all the time. Even last night, he's like, I need this from you. I hear what you say. Like, we need to know what we both need from each other to move forward and be good.
So great.
It is, I mean, he's really good about that kind of thing, and he's getting better at that too. Like a lot of men, it's sometimes the things that they don't say. And, those are the things that get, relationships in trouble because they feel like, oh, I don't want to hurt her and everything like that. Tell me, slap it on. Like, I'm here for it. Right.
That's how I am too, though. Exactly.
Yeah.
I need to know. Tell me. Let's get it over with. Let's deal with it.
Absolutely. And it just makes your relationship stronger. Right. So you getting back together with Keith and everything like that. I know I keep going back there, but like that journey of like making that connection super, super strong. That's where the married game came out of. Like, that's how you learned what you needed to make your marriage work to help others.
Yeah.
Wow.
We actually, so when we were first together, he wrote a book called Gods of Dating, which is freaking hilarious. I was like, but we're together. He's like, I know it's for men who are dating. And I was like, okay. So we did that. So we dabbled in human like psychology and relationships. And we always been pretty open about this stuff anyway. So we did that. We broke up. And then I actually put a little seed in him, like as we were thinking about getting back together. I said something random, and I think he talks about this a lot. We were sitting on the bean bags. We weren't together. I was like picking up Jovi or dropping her off or something. And I said, it'd be so hilarious. And I was testing the waters too, because I knew, I was like, I like who you're being.
Yeah.
And if we ever get back together, I'm going to write a book and it'd be like his and hers, black and white, kind of like this, actually. I just noticed that.
Yeah.
Sides on like getting back together, or the grass isn't greener, or the light switch, or something along those lines. So that was like the seed. Then we started coaching couples together, and then we just more leaned into him just teaching men. And then he started working with like Garrett, or Garrett gave him idea from Wake Up Warrior, you know?
Yeah.
And gave the idea. He's like, you need to do married game. He literally thought of the name, because you got to have game in your relationship, or we all get bored.
Yeah,
And it's
absolutely.
fun or spicy. And here we are, like, I think it's been like almost a year and a half, 2 years. And ever since my brother passed, I was like, I'm diving head first. I need a distraction. I love helping people. That fuels me, and we're doing it. And ever since we started working together too, I mean, shit's went, it's been so amazing.
Right. Right. It just, it just, like when you're helping others, you're really helping yourselves too.
Yeah.
Right. Because as you talk out loud, you're like, oh, damn, like, we went through that and we accomplished these things and we've learned these things, and we are giving out our love and tips to you, because it's magical when you can connect like that, and that's what I love about Daniel, is that he wants to help as many people as he can with PTSD. I want to help as many people as I can. And like, yeah, no, I am not a licensed therapist, but I love life. I love seeing people win. I want to see people learn how to love themselves. And so I see us like in the future, like colliding in this beautiful,
so great,
relationship, creating a community of helping others. And that's what I'm so drawn to you guys because of that, because
I wish that I knew your boyfriend before my brother. Ultimately why he passed is he was going to get a surgery and didn't. But his PTSD, he left the hospital in the middle of the night because he was 100% disabled from being in the army. So he had dealt with all that PTSD. So like I got chills literally thinking of that. Like I wish I had known or knew you guys, and that would have definitely helped him being here today.
Right.
That's crazy.
Well, and that's the thing, like, when it comes to PTSD, I've never had PTSD, but I know when you have PTSD, you really feel alone.
Yeah.
And you don't really know how to talk to anybody. And, he got PTSD from being a firefighter, and, his ex-wife was pushed him to be like, dude, you need to get better. Like, this is, you're falling apart, you're drinking, trying to like just shove everything down. And you're taught that as firefighters too, to just shove everything down.
And or as a man anyways.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
In general. And so he started going to therapy, and then he found out that like there's other types of therapy, and he's done ketamine for a long time now. And it's spaced out, he goes every 3 months now. But this is the thing, like to open up neural pathways in your brain to help you understand what your PTSD is coming from. And I wish your brother had those tools, but at the same time, someone asked me today or the other day, like, how do you live? Like, how do you know God is great if your dad has passed away? And I'm like, because God needed him. I don't know what else to say. I can't sit here. And I gained an angel too, and so, but like, I'm sure, it would just be great for you to even just talk. Daniel has his own podcast too. And it would be great to have you on there telling your side of the story of what it's like to have a family member with PTSD.
I lived with him a little too. Yeah, it was insane.
Yeah, it is really crazy. I feel like some of my brothers have PTSD, and just from like the traumatic experiences of my dad passing away and things
Yeah.
that happened after that. And we can only do so much to show them love and help them, and because they're grown ass men. But just like you always try to keep that communication open, and it's really hard. It's
It
really
is.
hard. And I'm sorry that you had to go through that, because it's not easy. But what you're doing now is really beautiful, because you're honoring him of loving yourself and taking care and diving deep. Like, what else can I connect to?
Yeah.
How can I share this with my husband and everything like that? And, show up for yourself, because that's the hardest part.
Right. And because of his passing, I'm only going to turn all that into good. All of him, I'm just going to put it into good. And we'll see how it affects me and all that, but right now that I'm just focusing on the positive, because he was here, because I knew him, because we were best friends and all that. So
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that. I love that you're doing that, because we can easily just hate the world and blame everybody else. And that does not do good.
nothing. That does nothing.
And it would break up your marriage, I'm sure, because like it's really hard. I mean, obviously there's parts where you do have to let your partner go through those things, but it can't define the rest of your life.
Exactly.
You can never let it define you. Like, my mom, I feel like, struggles with this with her. I feel like she has PTSD with so many things she's gone through, but she lets it define her.
Right.
She doesn't let it go, like forgive herself. At least this is how I feel.
Yeah.
She feels differently, and that's okay. Um,
I think that's that generation too, like an older
yeah,
generation.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They are dealing with the tools that they have. But in today's world, there's so many options for us to get better and learn about new things that we can relate to, listen to, be a witness to. I think but sometimes, they don't know where to go, and that's what's so important about what Keith is doing with men, and with what you guys are doing as a couple, and just knowing that you need that one sister to be your sisterhood, whether it's blood or not,
Mhm.
to be a sounding board. So like when you just really started coming onto his podcast, right? Like,
Mhm.
so when you first did that, like, what were your feelings? Like, you're like, why am I going to be here? What, like, did you think
Yeah.
you weren't good enough to like talk to him on his podcast? Like, what were those feelings that you went through?
I had done like 2 or 3, maybe 2 years ago. And I was like, I can't keep doing this. Like, I cannot. I stopped completely. And then like 2 months after my brother passed, he was like, why don't you come on? And I was like, I can't even talk. Like, I have such brain fog. Like, my words come out stumbly. I can't even be in front of people. He's like, let's just try it. So he gave me a little more time. He gently motivated me. And, we sit here sometimes with the guy on the other end, or sometimes we just turn on the cameras ourselves and do it.
Mhm.
And I just started just chatting. So my first couple of podcasts with him are real like me, like stiff, very nervous. And like it literally took so much courage. I'm like sweating down the back usually. Now today was like, I felt so comfortable. I just walk in. I'm like telling him, I'm like, hey, we're going to talk about this today. And he's like, okay, So now I feel like I'm like running the show. I feel like I've learned and grown so much recently. It feels good. It feels good. I'm actually even going to go to DC for an event, and I forget what the name of the event is, but I'm going to do a panel. So over 100 people, I'm going to sit and do a Q&A, and that's my step up to speaking on stages with Keith, and we'll see where it takes me.
That's amazing. Because I mean, I'm terrified of speaking on stage, but I want to, because that's where,
But I want to. I have a bigger purpose than myself. I have to put all my needs and all the things that like stop me from growing aside and be better then, because I have something to say, or I want to say, and I want to help people.
That's where we're going to grow the most, is like learning how to do that in front of like thousands of people. And it just brings us more confidence as women, or brings us more confidence as men. And I'm so like, how amazing that timing of you coming on his podcast, and like you're healing through these processes, you're learning, you're growing. It's so beautiful. And now you actually speak sometimes to the men that he gets together with
Oh
his.
yeah, I do on Thursdays. We do a group call and I'll hop on that call. And they want a woman's perspective, or to think how their wife probably feels in certain moments. So we just did that today too. Every Thursday I jump on, and then when we do the Ascend, I'll come in for a Q&A, or I'll come in for dinner. And he's like, okay, Jesse, if they have any questions, just feel free to ask her this. And I love to take my time with each guy and kind of get to know him. And they will like sit and ask me questions about kind of their relationship, or what do you think my wife thinks in this scenario? And it's so fulfilling.
Yeah,
So fulfilling.
that's so nice.
Mhm.
That's so nice that you have like this wisdom behind you now, because I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think you would have gotten this wisdom if you like let, Keith go, and you came back to this place, and you guys created, this married game together. And
Yeah.
like, I mean, who knows if that even would have happened if you
Yeah.
didn't.
Not to this extent. I mean, I've always been people savvy and real good in that area. That's why I think I'm thriving now.
Yeah.
Um, and being grown up with my dad, I've learned to keep people at like what they are. People try to get to know me to get to know him. So I learned that really quickly on. And that's why with Keith and I talk about how perfectly our lives were like this,
Yeah.
and that we go together. So I wouldn't have been to this extent knowing, or probably not, I don't know how far I would have gone, but I don't think this far. And
Yeah.
he motivates me and doesn't tell me what to do, but he's like, I know you can do it. So I'm like, all right, let's do it.
I think it's beautiful when like a married couple, boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever partnership you want to call it, when you push, or I'm sorry, I think Keith said this the other day, when you pull somebody into your power, not going down to somebody else's level to help them, you're pulling them into your power.
Yeah.
And making that enrichment conversations, or things that you're doing in your marriage, or even just your other relationships, is so beautiful to witness and to experience. And it's so amazing when you have partners like that. Daniel pushes me a lot. I push him really, really hard.
Yeah. It's
He
usually
talks
that
about
way.
that all the time. He's like,
Yeah.
man, I don't like it at first, and I think it's fucking annoying, but then I'm like, she's pushing me, because, Daniel wanted to start a podcast when I met him. And every week I was like, so when are you going to do this? When are you going to do this? So just fucking do it already.
Just
And he
do it.
finally did it. And I'm just like, I'm so proud of him, because, like this is, what he's talking about is so beautiful. And the passion he has behind to help others, that's, what I see. That's why I want to pull him. That's why I want to, pull him into his power, with him figuring that out, and it's just really great. I feel like if you're not in a relationship where you're not being inspired by your other person, like how long is that really going to
Yeah.
last?
Then why? What are you guys doing?
Right? My ex-boyfriend, if I like, I was not part of the Lion's Den when I was with my ex. I always wanted to be, the Lion's Den is with Sean Whalen, as but the audience. And it just, I was so drawn to like what Sean was always talking about on social media. And if I join, I kid you not, if I joined with my ex-boyfriend, I would be so shamed from him. Like Sean's like a liar and you're in a cult. Like, I just know this
Wow.
because he could not inspire me to be the best that I could be, because he was so in the dark. And he hid it really, really well, because he was a narcissist, right? And this is just a thing about narcissism, is that they are so good at hiding their dark horse. And that as women, that like, if they just opened up, if they were just vulnerable, and we tell ourselves that, like, if no, we need this now. If you're going to be vulnerable now, it needs to happen, or this is not going to work. And so when I left him, I started this journey of, like, I'm going to do what I need to do to like push myself into the best position and I didn't even know this was going to be a part of my life. If you asked me a year ago, or, like not even a year ago, I started this, that I was going to be doing this, I would be like, no.
Like same too. That's so funny.
Yeah. I mean, I do hair. And so like, I have these beautiful conversations with people and I'm like, well, why can't I share that even more? So,
I'm so happy for you.
yeah. And that's, again, that's how Daniel and I connected. And it's just great going back on to being with someone that has the same drive as you and, wanting to help as many people as possible. I mean, that's real love right there. So what does your future look like, Jessie? Like, what is your goal for like, maybe this year or, years to come of where you want to be and what you want to become and what you want to do with the people that you want to help?
I guess my goal for this year was just getting through this year.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
to see how much that I've grown and how much helping people fulfills me. I want to get to a place where I'm comfortable to go on stage. We're going to hold a Married Game Live event. So maybe that's my first one that I go up on, is my own with Keith. I just want to continue to push this and be my best self and to see where it goes.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
Heck yes. I just saw that. He posted that today and I was like, here we go. Here we go. Yes, I'm so stoked. I'm stoked that you're going to be doing that. I mean, I can't wait to like hear like how things are for you and your perspective of you after that, because that's going to be so dynamite. And where do you guys, like, I know you guys talk about like, your goals for your future together. Like, what do you guys really both want together as a couple?
That's so funny. Like, we haven't sat down and talked about specifically these things, I think, because we were just so surrounded by what just happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I know going forward, you know, we talk about how excited we are, like if this happens or that happened. I mean, sky's the limit. So who knows?
Mm-hmm.
TV show, like random, we do some funny things, speaking together, all those things. So
Yeah. I love that, and as long as you're, going forward and putting one foot in front of the other with and big, steps that you guys are doing right now, all that can absolutely happen. It all can be, your lives can be blessed with that, because I feel like, so many people are attracted to what you guys are doing and saying and what Keith is doing, that it's because of the testimonies of other men or people that have commented on your podcast and everything like that. Like I love like hearing what Ryan has to say. I know he's come into the Ascend Brotherhood, or what Bryce comes out and says, and just like these men talking about how they've had these beautiful connections with themselves through these brotherhoods and like breath work. Like
too, all those things.
it's just so neat. It's so, who says neat? Oh my gosh. Who says neat? I guess I say neat, but like, it's so neat that like these men are creating this vibration of vulnerability and being like, yeah, I meditate. Yeah, I do breath work. Yeah, I journal. It's beautiful.
And they're better because of it. It's so
amazing. It's sexy, right? Like it's sexy
Exactly.
when a man does that. Like, Daniel has this whole,
You want to be better? Okay.
yeah, like, I mean, when Daniel and I first got together, he's like, I'm not good at meditation. I'm like, why are you telling yourself that agreement? Tell yourself you are good at meditation. And now he doesn't go a day without meditation and journaling and reading. And I'm just like, fuck yeah, man. Like that is so sexy to see a man honor himself and do the things that he needs to do for himself, to love himself so he can love me to the fullest.
Yep. 100%. That's beautiful.
about. It's all about that, and like, as a woman, Jessie, what can you share to the other women out there? Being married and everything like that, like, what is your morning routine, or how do you set up your day for you to be the best, wife, to be the best mother, and to like fully love what you're doing and yourself?
I love that you asked me this because it goes along with gaining my confidence, and having kids and being a stepmom. And I kind of had lost that for a little bit, even though I'm a pretty confident person. But I do the things for me. When I stay in my power and my confidence, I'm better in my relationship. So I work out or I take a walk. I take time for myself during the day. Helping others makes me feel better. And then being a great mom, that helps me as well. And
Absolutely.
also taking the time for myself. So that's very important too.
And what do you do to take time for yourself? Like, what are things that help you?
Like I said, like an active thing every single day. That's the time for myself. I like to do the simple things like facials, and I'm working on my health to not let the cortisol levels or stress really get to me. So like, I have a membership at Restore. I go get IVs. I do the facials. I do red light. I do cryotherapy. So all those things like make me feel revived and like good. If I feel good inside with energy, then I'm a better person. I'm a better wife, better mom. So that's for me, taking that time.
Absolutely. And it's just like finding out what those things are for you, you guys. Like,
Yeah.
it's so important to take care of yourself, because I mean, we know the friends in our lives and our moms, and like, they don't know themselves through that. And there's just kids, 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 kids. And
Yeah.
we do need to give everything to our kids, but we can't give everything to them, because then we completely deplete ourselves, and it depletes us from being a good wife to our husband, because you need to still keep that strong relationship connection with your husband, and
Yeah.
always do date night and everything like that. I'm
Yeah, we
sure.
definitely do date night. But along those lines, I just remembered something else that I love to do. I like to go hang out with my mom, and I like to dance and sing karaoke and have a few drinks and let go. Like, that's how I fully feel like my old teenage self again.
Ah,
I feel like a human, a person, a woman, and then I come home, I'm like, hey, like I just had a great. So I like to do those things a couple of times a month too.
yeah, that's super
Yeah.
awesome.
I
That's
literally let it all go. I'm like,
Yeah, that's
let's go
I
dancing.
love that. I love music. I love dancing. I
Yes.
feel like, dancing is such a spiritual connection with self.
Yes.
And that's, why I love electronica music so much, because it's the only type of music for me personally that my brain just turns off. And I just like have these moments and this energy. And I actually brought Daniel to see Dead Mouse last November for my birthday. And he's like, I don't know what this kind of music is. Like, like, I don't know. And I said, just start listening. Cause I was going to go, cause I had my two gay besties come, and, we were just going to go. And I'm like, well, you could just like hang out with your dog, or just go, and you don't have to come. But I'm like, I want you to experience
Yeah.
this. I want you to come and experience this vibration. It's not about like, oh, it's electronica music and everyone's doing drugs. I'm like, yeah, people are doing drugs for sure. That's why
Yeah.
everyone's happy at these concerts. But like, for me, it's like this vibration of music, and you see people just dancing. And it was so beautiful to see Daniel like dancing and enjoying himself. And he was
Oh,
like, I just looked at everybody, and there was so many different ages of just feeling free. And that's like what you said, feeling like a kid, and feeling
yeah.
free. Like, I completely feel free when I
Yeah.
get to go to these experiences, when I can. We
Yeah.
can't.
That's definitely necessary for me too. I have
Yes.
to, like leave home, leave the kids, leave the husband, leave everybody, hang out with my best friend, my mom, and
Yeah.
go out dancing.
Oh yeah, and that's good too. Like, that's
Yeah.
my favorite thing to do with my girlfriends. Like, let's go out and like, not like going out downtown, like going somewhere that is like specifically for music and dance,
Yeah.
feeling like you're in a safe space. And I feel like that's such freedom. And as
Yes.
a woman too, Jessie, like, how do you feel like what it is to be free as a woman?
I think there's a couple of different things. Free in my relationship, but free as a person too. Like, I don't want to let anything stop me of my own brain holding me back for no reason. So that's doing all this, being myself, just not holding anything back, ask me any question, that feels free. I go out in the world, I dance, I don't care what anybody thinks. That to me is free. But free in my relationship, he encourages that. He motivates that. He's never like, what are you doing? Or you can't do that, because we're both living a life.
Yeah.
And why would we stop each other from living our life to the fullest? So we're completely free in our relationship too, and together.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
Do what we want to do. I mean, you know, with some restraints or whatever in our relationship, but we're like, we talk about that and communicate. I want to do this in life. I feel like doing this with you. I feel like we're excited to be together. Like nothing should be off the table.
Right.
That's what I think is freedom.
Absolutely. Because once it's not, it's control, it's control, it's jealousy, it's, not trusting the other person. And you need to really build that trust with your partner, because it's important. Like if Daniel wanted to do like a men's retreat or anything like that, be like, yeah, go for it. Like, be you. I don't need to feel like any, resentment or jealousy or anything like that. I need to be happy and proud that he wants to do these things. And then that's why we encourage each other to like push ourselves to do these things. And, if you don't have that in your marriage, I feel like eventually you're just going to have no trust, and it's just going to be too controlling. And that when you get to resentment, I mean, there's really no turning back unless you work really, really,
really hard.
really hard.
I know, really hard at it.
Really, really hard. So as we get to the end of this amazing conversation, I feel like I can like talk to you for days.
I know, right?
What is the most valuable lesson that you have learned to keep your marriage like sacred?
Sacred. Communication, always saying the things, and sometimes it's mumbly jumbly, or like I'll hold back a little bit until I can get it clear in my head, or I'm like, why are we upset, or what do I really want in our life or relationship, just all the things. But I think clear communication is always necessary and sacred. And we sit and chat, him and I, like all day. We'll come together and he works, and then we're like, hey, I did this today, and we'll come back, so we're just keeping up on each other's lives and motivating and having these conversations of things that we want. So
yeah, I love that. I love that. Like it's beautiful if you have opportunities every single day to get deep with your partner.
Yeah.
It's really the magical thing about like your relationship, my relationship. Like it's amazing when you can do that. And then, you attract all these people around you that want the same things, that can get deep and like be vulnerable. And like vulnerability, communication is like, to me, that is so sacred. And I'm glad you said that, because I absolutely agree. And for any of you out there that it's hard for you to be vulnerable with your partner, start being vulnerable with yourself. Start journaling like that vulnerability, start asking yourself those questions. And maybe you'll share your journal with your partner someday, and shed that light, because
yes,
you know what I mean? Because like,
we got a short life, we got to live it up the way we want it to.
Yes. Yes. There's nothing that you cannot achieve in this world, because you are so worthy. And I love that you and Keith see the worthiness in each other and pull each other into that power of having a successful marriage. And like, it's just beautiful. So I'm really appreciative of you sharing everything, your story, and, everything that you've gone through, especially losing your brother this year. I know like myself and the audience will continue to pray for your strength and, that connection with him, and just the growth that you will continue to do with yourself and involved with your marriage and everything. But like, I just love this conversation was like a flower growing out of the ground.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I hope we stay connected. And you guys, she is on Instagram. I will put the link in the bio. Keith's on Instagram, obviously. Listen to their podcast. It's amazing. You'll get a lot of golden nuggets, and I hope you got some golden nuggets today, y'all. So thank you so much, Jessie.
Thank you.
I hope you have an amazing day. And I think this podcast will be released in a couple weeks. I'm going to put it right after Keith's. So you guys will get to hear him and her, together, just a week apart. So look forward to that. And, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yay.
We did it.
Yeah, we did it. And good luck speaking on stage, girl.
I'm going to do it. I'm doing it.
Doing it. And that's, let's leave it with that. Go out and do your shit, you guys. Be confident, be beautiful and strong. You are worthy and you are brave. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
We will talk to you later.